You've been one night, one afternoon, one day. Do you believe that certain houses have certain auras about them? Have you been somewhere where you had a cold shiver down the back of your spine and you thought, no, can't go there again, just can't go there again? Or maybe you had a frightening experience. You think that you saw a ghost. You see, I'm a non-believer. I want you to convince me tonight on Late Night Love that ghosts really exist. I've got the lights down very low in the Late Night Love studio tonight, just to create the atmosphere. So you can fry me to death if you like. I'm okay. You know, I'm here till 1. I'm to be convinced that ghosts really exist, because I don't believe that they do exist. Or do you know something a little bit different? I'd like your story. I'm live tonight until 1. You can phone me, talk to Tom, he's on the phone tonight, have a chat to him. Or you can email by the website, just go to the Late Night Love page. Or you can check out myspace.com/Graham Torrington. It's Halloween. It's supposed to be the most frightening night of the year. So, do ghosts really exist? Have you seen a ghost? What's your story? I'm live tonight until 1. Every heartbeat, the acoustic version, that's Robin. It's Graham Torrington on Late Night Love. Don't forget, if you are single and looking for love, let's see if we can find you a new partner. I've done it for others, so there's no reason why we can't do it for you. Get yourself registered now on hatebeingsingle.com. There are thousands of people online right now looking for a new partner. That's hatebeingsingle.com. Get yourself registered, and let's see if we can get you a new partner before the end of 2007. Now, something slightly different on Late Night Love tonight. It's Halloween, of course, which I'm sure you're well aware of by now. And I want your ghost stories on the show tonight. Not just made-up stories, but stories that are true as far as you are concerned. You're going to convince me on the show tonight that ghosts really exist. Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Call me right now or email via the website. Don't forget, you can also check out myspace.com/Graham Torrington. Okay, let's bring in Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
I believe you're a ghost hunter.
I certainly am, yes. I'm in a paranormal investigation team, yeah.
Right, okay. So why aren't you out looking for ghosts tonight? It's supposed to be the most ghostly night of the year, isn't it?
It is. I've just finished work.
Oh, have you?
I have, yeah.
What, ghost hunting?
No. The other half of the team I'm in, they are actually in a graveyard at this moment.
Are they? Don't mention the graveyard, otherwise we'll get everybody there, right?
No.
Okay, so what will they be looking for there tonight?
They'll be looking for noises when they call out, if anything happens, especially bright lights. I mean, bright lights float in is a big sign that there is something about. Bright
lights? We're talking about bright lights in the sky? Or are we talking about bright lights, walk through the trees in the background there, the moon shimmering? What sort of bright lights are we talking about?
No, you could be looking through trees and a load of bright lights would just show up. I mean, when you get stars in your eyes, it's like that. And you could be looking at a wall. I mean, it's jet black. You've got to imagine yourself with your eyes tightly closed because you can't see a thing in front of you. And you will just see, well, sometimes you do see these
So what
stars.
Have you seen then, Susan, when you've been out and about?
We've actually witnessed, we've got all our equipment with us and we've had our cameras on record. We've actually witnessed one of the bags which we have our investigation things in. Yeah. The handle is actually lifted up and it's been placed back down. We've actually got that on camera.
Right.
We went to a big mansion, I'm not going to say where, and it's what they call an apparition starting, and it looks like smoke, but it isn't, because you're not allowed to smoke on an investigation because it will, show on the camera. But and we've had shoelaces untied. It just goes on. I mean, Why do you do this? I mean, what was you getting started in this? Why did you start doing it? For myself, it was when I was 14. I mean, I'm in my late 30s now, and me and my friend was walking along a main road one night past the church, and looked over and I saw what I can describe as a man and a dog, but it was just mist. But you could make out a man and a dog. And I looked at my friend and I said, "Did you just see that?" And she said, "Yeah." and that was it. That was totally it.
So you actually thought you saw a ghost on that night, and your friend could back that up?
I didn't think it. I know we did.
You know you did?
I know we did, yeah.
So why wasn't it a proper man then, rather than a ghost?
Because it was mist. You could see straight through him. But it was definitely the outline of a man and a dog. You could even see the lead.
Okay, so this was the start of you being interested in what you're interested in now.
Yes.
Why have you continued? Why do you go on ghost hunts?
We go on ghost hunts to try and prove it.
All right.
I mean, if we can catch anything which is certain, we've got to put explanations down to everything which we do catch on film. But,
and are there a lot of skeptics out there?
There is, yes. I mean, one of the team, he is a skeptic. But since we've been on the last investigation we went to, he has said, there's something else. There definitely is something else.
So he's a changed man now, then?
He's still skeptic. He said until he sees one, he will be different. He will change, but he still tries to put explanations to what's happened, like shoelaces coming undone, they could have been loose.
So how long will this hunt go on for you then, Susan?
It goes on, we usually start about 9 o'clock.
No, but I mean, will you stop when you've actually got evidence there that you've seen a ghost and you've got it on film and all the rest of it, and you can show the world, here is, my ghost that I've been looking for. Is that it proved then, or will you continue?
We will continue.
So it's a bit of a pastime for you then, really?
Yes, we will continue.
All right, okay. Susan, thanks very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. So, do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? I'm live until 1 tonight. Call me right now.
Graham Torrington, Late Night Love. Call Graham now. Wolverhampton 754 123. Beacon Radio. Discuss with Graham. Late Night Love.
Call Beacon Radio now. Tell me what you think. 01902 754 123. Late Night Love. Show tomorrow night as well. Tonight, of course, it is Halloween, and looking for your stories. Or is it reality? Is it the truth? Have you seen a ghost? Do ghosts really exist? And do you believe that some buildings have an unexplainable coldness about them? Phone me now, email via the website, just go to the Late Night Love page. Let's bring in Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Graham.
Right. When you were 13, you saw what you thought was a ghost.
That's right.
All right.
Want me to explain?
Yeah, talk me through it.
Well, I'm originally from Newcastle. I'm 35 now, and this happened when I was 13. The school I went to was a comprehensive at the time.
Right.
It was a Christmas, and I was just simply leaving the disco room to just nip down the corridor to the toilets.
Right.
The entrance to the toilets were just a glass front, and as I was walking down, I just saw a shadow go across, and I just thought it was just somebody wearing white. I thought nothing of it. Went in, and it felt really, really cold. I thought, well, it's an old building. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But there was nobody there. All the cubicles were empty. All the windows were locked, because I even checked. And then I just saw it again. And
what was it you saw?
It was a woman in white. Not quite walking, but more floating, like a floating figure.
Right.
But she looked like she was wearing, as if she'd been some sort of dinner lady previously. Maybe it's not
a floating dinner lady.
It sounds weird, I know, a floating dinner lady, but I don't know. But I just felt really cold, and I thought, this is definitely what I think it is. And it just completely freaked me out. I couldn't even carry on with the rest of the disco. I just had to go home.
Right.
But without mentioning it to my dad, he knew. He said to me that this is what spooked me, really. He says, you've seen her, haven't you? I went, seen her? We went, you've seen her in the toilet, haven't you? And because he'd seen the exact same thing when he was 13, when it was a boys' grammar school. And that's what spooked me, the fact that I didn't even have to mention what I saw. He knew by my face.
Did you ever go into those toilets again?
Well, obviously I had no choice but to, but...
So are you always kind of looking over your back?
It was during the day, but I always felt cold. I just put the coldness down to it being a cold building.
Right.
But after seeing the figure and after what my dad told me, I just I never went in there by myself, put it that way.
All right.
And that's all.
Okay. Kelly, thank you very much for telling your story tonight on Late Night Love. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? It's Halloween tonight, so something slightly different on the show. Getting your stories. Or is it the truth? Is it reality? Let's bring in Tina. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Graham.
Right, you've got a ghostly story to tell, haven't you?
Yeah, just a little bit of a one, yeah.
Go for it.
Well, several years ago, we moved into a rented cottage, quite an old cottage.
Yeah.
And on the day that we started moving our stuff into the cottage, I lost a ring that my grandmother had let me have.
Right.
Obviously, I was quite upset that I'd lost it, so we turned the place upside down and we could never find it. We searched and searched and searched, and it just wasn't anywhere.
Right, so you thought you'd lost the ring?
Well, yeah, I gave in the end, and it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, we stayed in this cottage for 12, 18 months, something like that. And then we bought our property and we were moving out. We'd moved the biggest part of the stuff out. My husband had taken virtually the last few bits to the new place. And he left me there just to sort of tidy up. And I was coming backwards down the stairs, hoovering, just to tidy up. And there was a big walk-in cupboard at the bottom of the stairs. And the door of that was open. And as I was coming down backwards with the hoovering, there was this huge rush of air went past me, and the door to this cupboard slammed. Bang. Well, it really spooked me, so I turned the hoover off, and I went and sat on the wall outside and waited for him to come back, because I was too scared to stay in there.
Right.
And anyway, he came back in, and he opened the door, and right in the centre of this room, and you couldn't have got it any more central if you measured it with a tape measure, was the ring that I lost on the day that we moved in.
Wow.
It was like the house had to have something belonging to you while you were there, but it sort of gave it back when you were leaving. And I was like, whoa.
But you were glad you're moving out of that place then, weren't you?
Yeah, a few odd bits and pieces happened, but while we were there, things had moved, but nothing that you could really, you couldn't have an explanation for.
So when you had the ring given back to you, were you kind of thinking back to some of the regular things that had happened whilst you were there, and you kind of put two and two together?
Well, yeah, I suppose it was really.
Can I ask you though, can there be any other reason that your ring should be sitting slap bang right in the middle of the living room there? I mean, is there any other thing that you can think about? You know, you're moving stuff around. Maybe a sofa, you tipped a sofa up and it had literally dropped out the sofa.
No, it wasn't a living room. It was like a big store cupboard that you could actually walk in.
Right.
So all the stuff had been cleared out of there. And there was no carpet or anything on the floor. It was just a stone floor. It had all been brushed out. There was nothing left in there at all.
Right.
And it was, completely empty. And until he came back and opened the door and the ring was in the centre on the floor. There was nowhere.
I mean, have you tried to think about, other things that may have happened, or are you convinced that's really what happened, that the house had given you back the ring that had taken you from you the day that you moved in there?
I thought about it lots of times, and I looked everywhere to see if there was anywhere that it could have fallen from or any other explanation, but there was nothing in there. There was nowhere. It was just really like an empty room with nothing, no shelves, no nothing. So the only explanation I could come up with was that it had given it back to me because I was leaving.
Would you go back and live in that stone cottage again then, Tina?
I would, yeah, because nothing really bad happened. It had a nice feel to it. It didn't have a cold or a bad feel about it at all. It felt a friendly place, really.
Okay.
So
right.
it would, yeah.
Tina, thank you very much for sharing your story with us tonight on Late Night Love. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Maybe you believe that some buildings have an unexplainable coldness about them. It's Halloween tonight. If you've got a story to tell, I'm live tonight until 1. Call me now or email via the website.
Graham Torrington. Late Night Love. Life. This is Late Night Love. Graham Torrington.
It's Halloween. Something slightly different tonight on Late Night Love. Talking ghosts on the show tonight. Do ghosts really exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? You see, at the moment, I'm a bit of a non-believer. But you can change my mind, maybe, sometime over the next couple of hours. So convince me that you've seen a ghost, and that really existed. Have you been into a building and felt a bit of a ghostly presence there? Or maybe you think ghosts are a load of old rubbish, and you'd happily walk through, maybe spend the night in a graveyard on a really cold, frosty January night. Maybe you got some thoughts. Loads of stories coming in. I'm live tonight until 1. You can phone me right now, or you can email via the website. Nights. It's Graham on Late Night Love. Something a little bit different tonight. We're talking ghosts. Do you think that you've seen a ghost? Do ghosts really exist, or do you think it's a load of old tosh? Live until 1 tonight. You can phone me now, or you can email via the website. You can also check out myspace.com/Graham Torrington. It's really strange when, we do stuff like this, because in the studio at the moment, there's myself and Ash who are working on the show, and then there's Tom next door answering the phones as well. And now, every other night, we always have the lights sort of down low in the studio, so tonight's no different at all. But, when you start talking about stuff like this, the odd flicker of the light, you kind of look up and think, oh, what's that? And you think, well, it does it every other night. And then Ash said to me a few moments ago, it's got a bit cold in here, hasn't it? And he's put his jacket on. Well, that's because the air conditioning's kicked in. That's why, it's no different. It's exactly the same. But, it just makes you sit up and think, oh, it's slightly different. It's Halloween and we're talking about this on the radio. So what's happening? Is it spooky? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Live until 1 tonight, I'd like your stories. So come to Nick in a few moments' time. Let's first of all bring in Beverly. Hi, Beverly.
Hi, Graham.
Right, you owned 2 haunted pubs, I believe.
Yes, we did.
Okay, well, let's not mention the pubs, all right, because we don't want, to give them too much publicity. Otherwise, everybody would be going down and spending their money in the pubs, and we're not allowed to do that, all right? But
okay.
Talk me through the situation with the 2 pubs, then.
One of them, we had some friends come and stay with us.
Right.
And they had a tent, and they pitched it outside. And the following morning, everything was fine. They said, what were you doing bashing around last night in the cellar? I said, we weren't. They said, well, it happened a couple of times, woke us up.
Right.
So that morning, we went in the cellar as normal, and lo and behold, there were 3 full barrels in a row, and on top of that there was 2 stacked up full, and on top of that there was another one full. And these were big full barrels, which physically no one could actually do on their own.
Right.
We checked the cellar the night before, like we did when we locked up. Everything was fine.
Right.
And that's what happened. But also, our ghost, and we believe it was a fella, he used to turn off the main gas that fed the barrels, the beers, and go to pour a pint. Nothing happened. Go in, and the wrench that we used had been moved. Turn it back on, so fed him, go back. A few minutes later, he'd turn it off. But also, we used to hear him walking upstairs when there was no one around. And he used to move the gloves in the cellar. And we had a huge Great Dane who was terrified, would never go anywhere near it. But it was
the dog actually wouldn't get anywhere near it?
No, he wouldn't ever go near the cellar. Never.
Wow.
And this was a dog that, when he stood on his back legs, he was taller than my husband, and my husband's 6 foot.
You see, if you'd have been telling me this story when I was in the pub, I would have thought to myself, oh, that's great for business, isn't it? Because, people come down and they think, oh, it's haunted, so let's go into the pub, it's haunted. Maybe the ghost will be there and moving the barrels around. But you're not. You're telling me this on a radio station when you actually don't have the pubs anymore now.
No. It was just normal, He used to walk around. We used to hear him upstairs. I mean, when I went to bed, I never got out at night again because it had that feel. And then we had another one that was an extremely old pub, and that was haunted by an old man.
Right.
Who had been seen by the cleaner one morning and then disappeared, and also a woman as well, which spoke to me one day when there was no one in the pub, called my name.
Were you frightened about all this, were you, at the time?
Yeah, I was at the time, but I spoke to my grandmother, who used to see a lot of things, and she just said, Beverly, just tell it to behave itself. So when I used to go in the cellar and be misbehaved, I used to go, will you please pack it in? And they'd calm down. But that's the only way, because they were all buildings, so no. Terrified of it a while, but you got used to it. just used to tell it to behave.
Part of your life and living in the pubs there. Beverly, thank you very much for telling your story tonight on Late Night Love. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Phone me now or email via the website. Just go to the Late Night Love page. Let's bring in Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Graham. How's it going?
I'm very good, thank you. Now you've got a story about something about when you were skiing. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, when I was 7 years old, I was skiing in a Swiss resort.
Right.
And it was basically a whiteout, and so we could not see more than literally a couple of meters in front of you.
Right.
And I basically managed to get lost from my mother and my brother.
Right.
And I ended up sort of skiing sort of completely off-piste away while they were a restaurant for me.
Right.
And I sort of skied on along merrily, just completely lost, basically not knowing what was going on. And by this time they called the piste, the rescue guide, basically trying to find me.
Right.
But and they sort of said there's nothing they could do. And meanwhile, with me, when I was skiing along, suddenly there was just someone basically in front of me, and who didn't say anything to me, but he was sort of there wearing old ski clothes, like an old sort of guide outfit, and he sort of just pointed at me, and I basically with him for about 10 minutes, and then he took me to the exact point on the piece where my mum and brother were, and then my mum sort of in a bit of a fit just grabbed me and hugged me, and sort of swore at me, sort of saying never put me through that again. And by the time we sort of turned around to look at him, he had gone. And then we basically inquired about it, because all those sort of things are always reported, and if it had been a guide, he would have had to, basically by the piece of law, sort of ski us as a family down to the resort.
Right.
But when we got down to the bottom, that basically that no one ever knew anything about it, and he also fitted the description of a guide who had actually been killed a number of years before by skiing off a cliff, which I was actually skiing towards.
Wow! So this is almost your angel then, putting you back on the straight and narrow, looking after you.
Yeah, that's what my mum said. Yeah, but it was strange because we never spoke about it as a family for about 10 years. Because it was almost so strange that we didn't know what to say about it. And then about sort of 5 years ago, we all sat down and just discussed it, and it all came out, all our different versions. And it's a really weird sort of thing to have happened. But,
how do you feel about it today when you're talking about it on a radio station?
I don't really know. To be honest, it's just I feel very lucky. Obviously, I sort of feel that I was generally saved, and but it's really weird because it's sort of I can't really put it down to being almost a ghost encounter, and it's almost sort of it doesn't really fit any category. It's just something really strange that happened to me, and something I got saved basically.
Saved, and you're here to tell us a story now. Nick, thank you very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Do you believe that some buildings have an unexplainable coldness about them? Phone me now or email via the website.
Graham Torrington. Late Night Love.
Asher Bedingfield, it's Graham Torrington on Late Night Love. Reminder, of course, if you are single and looking for love, we'll try and find you a new partner on hatebeingsingle.com. Free to get yourself registered there. Just go online now. There are thousands of singles online looking for a new partner. 18 plus, I can guarantee that there is somebody that matches your profile. So get yourself online now to hatebeingsingle.com. And I believe in the chat room there tonight, they're talking about what we're talking about on the show tonight as well, about ghosts. So maybe you'd like to go online there to the chat room on hatebeingsingle.com and see what they're talking about there as well. Yeah, something slightly different for Halloween tonight on Late Night Love. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Call me now or email via the website. Just go to the Late Night Love page. Let's bring in Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hello, Graham.
Now, I believe you're a bit of a skeptic on all of this.
Yes, no, absolutely. Well, I was until tonight, you could say.
Right, so what's changed your mind tonight then, Ben?
Basically, a group of friends, you could call us, decided to go for a ghost walk.
A ghost walk?
A ghost walk around some supposedly haunted lanes.
Right.
Up in the countryside.
Right.
And I went out with a purely, skeptical mind of absolutely seeing nothing, but I had quite a shock, actually. I'm glad I'm back home,
right,
to be honest with you.
So what happened then?
Well, we'd heard the rumours that this lane that we were travelling down was supposedly haunted by a horseman.
Right.
People could see this headless horseman. Actually, it was
a headless horseman.
A headless horseman.
Right.
Now there was about a dozen of us went on this walk. I didn't actually see anything, but all of us, we stopped it. We videoed it. We'd got somebody there with the infrared camera. And we could all hear this sound of this neighing horse and this galloping sound.
But hang on a minute, you were in the countryside?
Yeah, absolutely.
Forgive me here, but, horses, are in the countryside.
I know what you're going to say, Graham, but the sound of this horse, it was right beside us.
Right.
And we could all hear neighing horses. Yes, I accept that. I live in the countryside. But it was galloping alongside us.
Right.
The sound was that close.
Right.
And it was just baffling. It was totally baffling.
What did you do, all of you?
We'd gone on this trek that took us along the various country lanes that were supposedly haunted. Our leader took us, the person who was in charge of this ghost walk, who knew the lanes like the back of his hand, and he told us where sort of the various ghosts sort of supposedly manifested themselves, and it was very surreal. It was really surreal how all of a sudden that we'd heard this rumour about this ghost.
Can you think of any other explanation at all?
No, absolutely
you're the skeptic here, so...
no, absolutely,
so,
Graham.
Are you saying to yourself, that surely couldn't have been so, or are you now convinced that there was something there?
Well, this is the interesting thing. This wasn't the only occurrence that happened on the walk. That happened initially very early on, and farther on from the walk, there was this lady with us on the walk. Obviously, I've been told I can't mention any names, so I shan't. But she said, "I'm sure I saw something in those woods."
Right.
And she turned around and said, "Over there." So we all pointed our torches. Absolutely shone up nothing. And then somebody else said, "No, it's over there, further to the left." And there was this face just staring at us in the woods.
Were you all skeptics, all of you on this walk? So what I'm thinking about is if this walk had been organised with a load of skeptics there, it can be easy to set this stuff up, a face in the woods, noises of horses coming past there, to try and convince you that, really these things happen.
Well, no, I mean, quite possibly so.
And did you pay to go on this walk as well?
Oh no, absolutely. No, there was no fee paid. It was just a group of locals from the local pub.
Right.
Hearing the ghost stories, and one of the locals actually took us out and said, this is where things happen.
So how do you feel? I'm going to have to wrap up a minute because I've got some other calls to get on, Ben, but how do you feel now you've come home now? Are you a skeptic still? What are your thoughts now?
I'm reassured I'm behind bricks and mortar now.
Right.
Get me down that dark lane alone, I'd be quite worried, to be honest, Graham.
Wow.
From what I've heard today, it was pretty alarming.
All right, well,
pretty alarming.
Safe at home now. Have yourself a cup of cocoa and go to bed, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, Ben, thanks very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. We're not trying to frighten you tonight, okay? That's not the idea of the show tonight. The idea is, it's Halloween. This is supposed to be the most spookiest night of the year. Some people are skeptics, some people are believers as far as ghosts are concerned. Do you believe that some buildings have a certain unexplainable coldness about them? Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Are ghosts a load of rubbish? Would you happily walk down that country lane that Ben just told us about there? Call me right now, live until 1 on Late Night Love.
Graham Torrington, Late Night Love. Call Graham.
Westlife, Flying Without Wings. It's Graham Torrington on Late Night Love. The song of the week this week is the new song from Sia. I'll play that for you in a few moments' time. Something a bit different tonight for your Halloween. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Maybe as a child, you saw a vision in your bedroom. We were talking about this before we came on air tonight amongst the team who work on Late Night Love. And it was discussed earlier that apparently as a child it's said that girls are more frightened of something sinister under the bed, whereas boys see things at the window. I remember when I was a child, the only thing that used to frighten me to death was Doctor Who. I always used to hide behind the sofa at that. got over that now. Don't hide behind the sofa now when Doctor Who's on. Maybe you got some thoughts on this. Phone me right now or email via the website. Let's bring in Paul. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Graham.
All right, apparently you had a ghost in your house.
Yeah, my parents used to live in the country, quite a big old house, and from when I was about 16, 17, I used to babysit, and you'd be sat there at night.
So were you brought up in this house?
No, we moved there when I was about 13, 14.
Right, okay.
And we'd never really heard anything, wrong with the house or anything like that. And then suddenly, from when I remember about 16, when I used to start babysitting, you'd be sat in the living room watching telly, and you'd hear, like, the upstairs bedroom, like people walking from one side to the other.
Right.
And that would be like my parents' room, and obviously they wouldn't be in because I'd be babysitting. So, you'd run upstairs thinking it was my brothers and sisters, swing on the bedroom, what the hell are you doing? But there's no one in there, and I was like, and I'd check on them, they were asleep, and I'm like, this is weird. So, it happened a couple of times in the night.
Right.
And then, anyway, obviously I tell my parents, think my cousins are my brothers and sisters are messing about.
Right.
And then my parents both experienced it as well. And then it stopped for a while. And then about a year and a half later, we were all asleep one night and we got broken into downstairs.
Right.
We didn't know about it until there was a loud crash and a bang. We, myself and my dad come out onto the landing, because obviously we thought someone was breaking in. Looked down, put the landing light on, looked down the stairs, and there was two guys at the bottom of the stairs. One of them was falling over into the cupboard at the bottom of the stairs, got up and ran straight out the front door, the both of them. So we rung the police, we've just been broken into. Because we were in the middle of nowhere, the police managed to get hold of them, thank God. And when they were obviously interviewing him, the burglar said, an old woman pushed him down the stairs. And when the police come and spoke to us about it, I was like, well, there's no old woman there. It's, my mum, my dad, and my brothers and sisters, and that's it.
Right.
And they were adamant that someone had pushed them down the stairs. So we thought nothing of it. And the mum was chatting to one of the locals at the pub on like the following week or so, and that's when she actually found out that it used to be an old couple who used to live in the house. The gentleman died of old age, and then his wife died a couple of weeks later, they say from like a broken heart or whatever.
Right.
And apparently the woman was, she did a lot for the community, she was always thinking of people and stuff like that. And it just, I'm a firm believer in nothing to do with anything like ghosts and that, and so is my family.
Right.
But it's all opened our eyes quite a bit about it because...
So really, what she was doing, she was actually saving you from being burgled.
Exactly, and it seems weird that the ghost, well, they say the ghost thing, the noise and things like that were never around when my younger brothers and sisters were around. It's only when adults were there.
Right.
So, and it kind of backs up the thing that, she didn't want to scare the children or whatever. It was just when the adults were there. And then obviously she kind of, well, we think, whether it did actually happen or not, she stopped them from coming up the stairs, the burglars.
Do you... did you ever dig anything more into this? Did you fish around or anything, or did you just leave well alone?
Well, what we did is we spoke to the local people, and they just said, that the couple there were doing, they raised loads of money for charity. They were always helping the community. They used to babysit. They were all ex-teachers. The pair of them were ex-teachers. They were always looking out for people. And apparently, they just got to the end of their lives and they just passed away in the sleep in the bedroom that we used to hear the noises. And like I said, none of us believed in ghosts, and now we don't really, but for that time we were living in that house, I think my parents and myself did believe in, and whatever that burglar thinks, I don't know, but I'm sure he was pretty shocked to find out there was no old woman in the house, if that's what he thought. Good
old lady ghost, that's what I say.
Exactly, yeah.
All right. Paul, thank you very much for telling your story tonight on Late Night Love. Amazing. Jono apparently had a poltergeist in his bedroom. We'll talk to him next on Late Night Love. You got any stories to tell? It's Halloween. Call me right now.
Graham Torrington. Late Night Love.
Moving on, hasn't it? Physical release on that on the 19th of November. Okay, Late Night Love tonight, something slightly different to what we normally do. We're talking about Halloween. Do ghosts really exist? Let's bring in Jono. Hi, Jono.
Good evening, Graham. How are you doing? All right?
I'm okay, thank you. Right, so what's the story about your poltergeist then?
Well, I'll explain it quite briefly. Basically, I moved to Ashton Keynes in 1981,
Right.
We moved to an old cottage. It's a 400-year-old cottage.
Right.
And when we arrived, the reason people moved out was like they did enjoy living there. And basically, we moved there as a family, and we were in about 2 months. I moved into this room, or I lived in this room, and as a child, building Airfix models with windows 2 feet thick, and they started to move around during the night.
Airfix models?
Yeah, based on the old window front.
Right.
And then books started to fly out. And one night, I used to swim for science. So one night I came back home. As a treat, I was allowed to watch Cagney and Lacey one night, late night. Went to bed. Had the cat on the bunk bed, and suddenly the door flew open.
Right.
And all the contents of the door, all the contents of the cupboard came flying out. And it was very, very, very scary.
How old were you at the time, Jono?
I was about 13, so it was quite intriguing listening to your early listener talking about the female ghost.
Right.
We've actually found out, and looking at the actual history of it as well. In 1926, there's a young lass who died at the age of 13 in the same house that I lived in at the time.
Right.
And her name was Gladys. And you can find her grave in the Ashton Keynes graveyard with her father and with her mother. And we experienced amazing things in the house. For example, my father was one night on the phone to a colleague in Hong Kong, listening out the window, and he could hear someone walking down the stairs. And he turned around. He thought it was me making a joke, and suddenly, there's nothing there, just a breath on his neck.
Wow.
And we
did he frighten you?
Initially, yes. In fact, it scared the living daylights out of all of us in the house.
Right.
There's one afternoon, my mother was watching Neighbours on TV.
You liked your telly, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah. And suddenly this voice came down, Graham, get out of the house, and it covered the whole house.
Right.
Now, I wasn't there. I was a student at the time at New College, and this voice came down the chimney. My mum ran out screaming, and the neighbours came around and checked the house out. There's nothing there at all.
So how long were you all in this house? I mean, to be honest, I'd have moved out pretty damn quick.
Well, it's easy said than done, isn't it? It's basically, you have to... I came to the point, Graham, where as a youngster, I actually embraced it, and you could be sat sometimes on the stairs, and you could see this dark shadow just moving around the dining room. And intriguingly, actually, we had a dark black cat. Now, some of your listeners might relate to this, actually, but the dark black cat came in the house sometimes, and it was normally due to a death. Now, I can't explain that, but before developers moved into this place called Dairy Farm in Ashton Keynes, there was a barn to the right of my parents' property, and when they actually approached the barn and they walked up the stairs, they found a whole, on this barn floor, a whole array of dead cats, dogs and rats. Now, that might be an urban myth. I don't know. I never saw it, Graham, so I can't say.
So that's really hearsay more than anything. But you did experience the poltergeist and all the other things. Gianno, amazing story. Thank you very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. What do you think about some of the stories you're hearing on the show tonight? Are ghosts a load of old rubbish? Are they? Do you believe? Are you a skeptic? Heard from one guy earlier on tonight who was a skeptic. He's been out on a ghost walk tonight. He's now not too sure about it. Maybe you got some stories to tell. Live until 1. Call me right now.
Graham Torrington. Late Night Love.
Getting towards that witching hour now. Midnight. What happens to midnight? All the ghosts come out. We're talking ghost stories on the show tonight. Let's bring in Brian. Hi, Brian.
Hiya.
Hi, right. Tell me your ghost story.
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit.
All right, no. Oh, you're breaking up, not me. Your mobile not too good there, is it, Brian? Just move around a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Okay, right. Tell me about the ghost story then that you've got.
Well, basically, me and my ex-partner moved into a council house, and they're brand new houses. The first thing I knew about it was I thought I'd seen her stepson walking down the corridor towards the kitchen. So they'd gone on the fridge to jump out on him. Causing him to walk in, I looked round, no one there. Didn't think anything of it. And then sort of more things started to happen, like things started moving, loads of noises and stuff. The dog wouldn't sleep downstairs.
Right. So this was actually a brand new property that you
brand new property, yeah.
Built on an old house was there before, was it?
Well, no, this is what I'm getting to it. But basically, the next sort of Christmas time, the partner said, look, he was here. So who was there? She goes, there was a chap stood in front of the Christmas tree last night. He goes, and then he moved to the bathroom. She goes, I haven't been able to move all night. She was frozen, stuck to the couch. So basically, we called a medium, and he came out of the house. And I didn't believe in ghosts or anything like that at all. And he just walked in and said, oh, yeah, he goes, there's two of them. There's a little girl, little boy, brother. She was murdered. He's come to get her back, and they're basically stuck here. They've homed in on you. And we set up a camcorder as well, and we caught these little spheres on tape. And the voice of the little girl saying, both of you, please help me. And we wound this 5 times and listened to it, and we heard the voice, both of you, please help me. And we actually took the hour and the minutes, whatever, on the video, got some of their friends around and said, look, listen to this. And the voice had gone. And the medium said, well, basically, she wants you to use it. You're only tuning into this, no one else. And basically, he moved him on, and we checked the local history. Sure enough, this little girl had been murdered. And we found a grave, a little metal cross on it from the 1800s up in the local graveyard.
But the evidence you'd got there had been wiped. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we saw the surveyors on film, but not the voice. And they had the exact minute and the second on the video. And we rewound it 5 times, and we both heard it clear as a bell. Both of you, please help me.
Right.
And yet, when we invited other people around to listen to it, the voice had gone.
So what did you put that down to then?
Well, there's definitely something there. I mean, like I said, I saw the little boy walking down the hall, and the dog wouldn't sleep downstairs. We had the thing on tape. The medium walked in, described the little girl and the little boy. We checked out the local history, and sure enough, this little girl had been murdered.
Right.
And this guy came all the way from Swansea. He couldn't have known, you know.
So how long were you in that house for? Did you ever move out?
Well, I met a partner. She moved in there before I did. She'd been there for about 6 or 7 months.
Right.
And these are all brand new houses, but they'd actually been built on the land where she'd been murdered.
Yeah, but I mean, were you frightened to death? So did you move out, or what happened? Briefly,
the medium came in. Well, the medium just moved them on. He said, right, that's it, they've gone now. He said, basically, they homed up, because apparently when I was abused...
Right, so she exercised the house then, did she?
Well, he did, yeah.
Well, he did, yeah.
But he reckoned that she'd honed in on me because of what I'd gone through as a child, and sort of empathise with her situation, apparently, so...
All right. Brian, thanks very much for sharing your story with us tonight on Late Night Love. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Convince me. It's Halloween, live until 1. We'll do the classic love song at midnight next.
Graham Torrington, Late Night Love. Call Graham now. Wolverhampton 754 123.
Actually, it's November the 1st now, so Halloween really technically is finished. It's over for another year. But we'll continue talking ghost stories between now and 1 o'clock tonight. Something a little bit different for Late Night Love for your Halloween night. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Convince me that ghosts really exist. Heard lots of stories on the show tonight. Very busy on the phones. Give us a call. Tom's on the phones tonight. Have a chat to him. Impress him with your ghost story. Not a made-up one, a real one, okay? And we'll get it on the show sometime between now and 1 o'clock. Or you can email via the website. Just go to the Late Night Love page. Or maybe you think ghosts are a complete load of rubbish. I'm live tonight until 1.
Late Night Love. Classic.
Okay. Late Night Love. This evening on the show, something a little bit different. It being Halloween, we're talking ghost stories. Are they stories or are they reality? Are ghosts a load of rubbish? Would you happily maybe walk through a graveyard at 2 o'clock in the morning by yourself and not bat an eyelid? Get on the phone, give me a call right now, or email via the website. Okay, let's bring in Fiona. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Graham.
Right. You believe that you've heard things go bump in the night?
Yeah, it's more that it made me question that something probably is there.
Okay.
But,
tell me the story then, Fiona.
Yeah, well, basically, I'm a respite care nurse and working in a respite centre predominantly for youngsters.
Right.
We had a night staff always an awake person in an awake room, listening to monitors, and to each of the rooms we'd have a monitor. So if there was a problem with anybody within that room, the monitor would go off and you'd go into them. On one particular night, I was the awake person, and we'd have a sleepover staff as well. If you had a problem, you'd shout them. And totally right out of the blue, I could hear through one of the monitors very, very clearly and very distinctly a spinning top, like the sound of an old metal spinning top that I would have had as a child, spinning and playing Little Bo Peep. And it really, it totally sent a shiver down me. But my first thought was, somebody's got out of bed, somebody's, playing. So immediately I went to the room. But the two children that were actually in there were both asleep. There was absolutely nothing there. So I shouted to the person who was awake, the sleepover person, to get up and check the other rooms with me. I thought, there's got to be a problem. Why is this coming through here? But all the time I kept thinking, I've never seen a spinning top. We knew, and we had to have, everything was labelled because of the calibre of the children there. And I thought, I've never seen anything like that. And we scoured the place and then thought, we'll talk about it in the morning. Went back into the room, we decided we'd both stay within there. And then I kind of thought, she must think I'm crazy, what's she heard? And then
Did you think you were crazy?
No, to be honest, I thought to myself, when you sit up, sometimes you sit up late at night, and you kind of go into, although we are awake, you're dreaming or you're thinking about this. And you can imagine sometimes you are hearing a tune. I suppose that was what I was trying to convince myself. Because I thought, it can't be. How could something come through there? But she heard it. She heard it lower than I did. But we were both there together. And we looked at one another, and we were both trying to look for every possibility that this, it's got to be somewhere. There's got to be something. The next day, the place is... it's late 1800s, a very old building. It used to be lived in by monks, and we got in touch with our immediate bosses and spoke to them. They were really in need, and they got in touch with some of the monks at the monastery, and they had dates going back a long time, and they'd had 6 or 7 detailed notes about a spinning top and about various tunes. The tune was not the one we heard, but about tunes. Some of the reports were of a tune unidentified as to what it was, but the earliest date they went back to was 1986. So even now I question what I believe, because it scares me to think too much. But there's something there. I always feel... How do you feel when you're talking about it now, Fiona? Is this something you should have done you back now? It does, actually. It does. It's weird, because I think when you think about things like this in the dark, it's more scary. But when you think about it in the day, it's like, oh no, guess what, and the other. And we all talked about it, and people would say, so you really do believe? And even then I said, oh, well, I'm not convinced. I find it calmer to think no, perhaps this or perhaps that. But really, I think, there has to be something, because it basically, I don't think anybody else could have imagined something. You do think to yourself, what did I hear? But when somebody else does, it's kind of like confirmation. It's a scary confirmation, but... Do you wish she hadn't have heard it as well? Because then you could have said, "Oh well, maybe I imagined it." Probably not, actually, because I think I probably would have thought I'd lost the plot totally. And I think if only I had heard it, I don't think I'd have probably said, "See what you can find out." I would have really thought, oh, they're probably thinking she's safe to leave. So, I am actually glad. And it was nice. They told us all sorts about the building. They weren't able to tell us, oh, this had happened or someone had died. They didn't tell us anything like that. So there was nothing to say, oh, yes, someone died holding a spinning top or anything like that. There was nothing like that. It was just like... So really, what you're saying is it's still an unexplained something, really. Yeah, definitely. But obviously heard by several people dating back, because they have to keep records, obviously, because of it being a home. You keep records for quite a lot of years, I think. But 1986 was the earliest comment about a spinning top. And it's like, we were never privy to anything. We would never, ever told anything that anyone had a comment about this or comment about anything. So it was... You heard it. Really.
Yeah. Fiona, thanks for your story. Thanks for joining us tonight on Late Night Love. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? As a child, did you ever see a vision in your bedroom? Or maybe you think ghosts are just a complete load of rubbish. It's Halloween. Call me right now.
Graham Torrington, Late Night Love.
Neo, because of you. It's Graham Torrington on Late Night Love, Sunday to Thursday, 10 to 1, talking relationships, dilemmas, confessions, secrets, any love-related issues. Here until 1 then, and then some great stuff following me through the night as well, so stick around as much as you can throughout the night. Something slightly different on the show tonight, it being Halloween. We're talking ghosts on the show tonight. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Phone me now, email by the website. You can also check out myspace.com/Graham Torrington. Okay, let's bring in David. Hi, David.
Hi, Graham.
Right, you kinda believe in spirits, is that right?
Well, yes, I do believe in them.
Right. And
definitely.
You think that they're there to guide and look after you?
Well, yes. I lost my sister in 1991.
Right.
She was 15 years old.
Yeah.
I was 8, and I know for a fact that I've seen her since. I've seen her, I've been up to the cemetery where she's buried.
Mm.
I've seen her walking around the house where we used to live. It's been an absolute fantastic experience for me, because I know she's there protecting me.
Right. So, were you frightened the first time you saw her?
No, not at all. Far from it. If anything, I felt safer.
Right.
Because I lost my sister, I was 8 years old, and I saw her, and I thought, hey, that's my sister there. I thought, fantastic. Yeah, that's my sister. I know she's looking after me.
So what proof have you got that she's looking after you?
Oh, I've seen her, and for instance, I don't like to bring this up, but this time last year, I tried to commit suicide.
Mm.
I was going to drive myself into a reservoir, and I stopped myself. Well, I don't stop myself at all. I took a wrong turn, and I crashed the car, and I sat there, and I looked over, and I saw Sandra sat in my passenger seat, and just looked at me and shook her head, and then it was over.
Right. So you're convinced then that you're convinced that she made you make a wrong turning, and actually that saved your life?
I'm positive that she did it, because, for instance, my battery on my phone was dead.
Right.
I even had enough battery power to ring my mum to come and pick me up.
Right.
And this is the 24th of October last year.
So, have you seen her since? Do you see her on a regular basis?
I've seen her once since, but that was when I went up to the cemetery.
Right.
On her birthday earlier on this month.
Right, so is it a vision? Does she sit down and talk to you? What happens?
It's just a vision. She doesn't talk to me. She just makes expressions.
Right. And do you feel safe when she's around?
Oh, God, yes, definitely.
Right. Do you talk to your mother about this and your parents?
I talked to my mum about it.
What does your mother say?
My mum tends to get very upset because it was her daughter and she lost her at a young age.
Mm. So does she appear in front of anybody else? Has anybody else seen her?
Well, not that I'm aware of, because I've only spoke about to my mum, whose daughter it was, and about my dad, and in front of my dad, who actually raised Sandra from the age of 3.
Right.
So, but my dad's not seen her because my mum and dad split up 5 years ago.
Right.
But my mum...
Is there anything else that you could put this down to, David, other than what you're telling me tonight? I mean, are you believing that? I mean, you say you see her. Is there anything? Is your mind being played tricks on here at all? Do you think?
Well, no, because I'm not a druggie. The first time I saw her, I was 8 years old. It was about 2 months after we actually lost her.
Mm.
So it can't be. And I've seen her on a daily basis up until we moved from where she passed away from. And then it became a monthly occurrence when I saw her. But I still see her. For instance...
And do you see her now in times of trouble, or do you just see her as and when?
As and when. Always, because I saw her... Her birthday was the 4th of October. And I saw her. I was just about to go downstairs. I live in a brand new house, away from where she passed away. And I saw her as I walked out of my bedroom, and she was laughing. She was laughing at me. And then I went up to the cemetery, put some flowers down, and I'm convinced that she was laughing at me for going and doing something like that.
David, interesting story. Thank you very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Or do you think it's a load of old rubbish? Call me right now.
Graham Torrington.
Free to get yourself registered there. Something from Keane coming up very soon. We're here until 1. And it being Halloween, something a little bit different on the show tonight. We're talking about ghost stories. Do you believe that some buildings have an unexplainable coldness about them, or maybe certain rooms? Maybe get some thoughts on this from me now, or email via the website. Natalie.
Hi, Graham.
Talking about a certain room, you feel that there's a certain room that makes you feel sick, is that right?
Yeah, it doesn't actually anymore, believe it or not, which is a bit weird, but it's the room at my nun's house that, funny enough, none of my cousins seem to want to go into, and I used to stay there all the time, right. And 1 out of 3 nights I used to stay over, guaranteed one night I'd feel sick, violently sick.
Which room would this be? Living room? Dining room?
No, it was a back bedroom. It was just it was almost like a box room, and I used to sleep on a camp bed.
Right.
And I had no problem with it. As far as I'm aware, my great-granddad had a stroke in that room.
Right.
But a lot of the family won't actually go upstairs, let alone into the room itself.
Really? Why? What have others experienced there, then?
I think it's just fear. Whether it's fear of... There's quite a lot of sort of stories that are linked up with the house that haven't necessarily been affected by myself and other close members of my family that have lived there, but it's been a family house in lots of generations. And I think a lot of it could be a fear factor, but my closest cousin, she's very, very scared of going up the stairs and won't even go into that particular bedroom.
Right.
But,
she'll go into the house, but she won't venture upstairs.
No, she won't go into the house at all. She won't go into upstairs at all. But she'll go into the house downstairs. But even to the toilet, she's sort of 23 now. I still have to go up to the toilet with her to go so she can go to the toilet.
Well, I remember being a kid, especially here we are now, winter nights, and it's dark, isn't it? Like 5:30 in the afternoon. I always remember being a kid, and me wanting to have a wee, and you say to mummy or daddy, I want to go and, go to the toilet. And they would have to put the light on for you to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Being a child, I used to have to go there. But I don't know, about 7 or 8 there, but this girl's 23, you say?
Yeah, she is, yeah. But it's funny because it's only me and my brother that can actually go up the stairs of that house quite happily and sleep there. None of my other cousins, out of quite a few, would ever do it.
You said that you felt violently sick on an occasion.
Yeah, well, I did for every night. 1 out of 3 nights I'd stayed there for years. This happened, and then one particular night I woke up. It was actually the New Year's Eve on 2000, and I woke up feeling really sick again.
Was that something to do with the alcohol?
Well, I thought that. I only had 2 drinks, but I'm quite a lightweight, so I thought that was what it was. But.
Right.
It worked. I sat up in bed thinking I was going to be sick, and then my nan, I thought it was my nan, stood in my doorway, and I called out to her and told her I felt sick, and she just turned and walked back into her room. And the next day I approached her and I said to her, no, I called you into my room last night. I said, and you just walked away. And she said, well, I didn't actually get up. So I spoke to my granddad and my mum, but they're both very tall and thin.
Yeah.
And it couldn't have been them, because this person was very much, if it was looking at me directly, it looked like it had quite large hips, which is my nan, but a very round face. But later on, when I found out it wasn't my granddad or my mum, my nan took me into the living room and she showed me a photograph of her dad, which is my great granddad, stood in the doorway facing the door, and I said, that is exactly what I saw, absolutely identical to what I saw. And I said, and it's funny because I immediately stopped feeling sick. I wasn't sick or anything, went straight back to sleep, and I haven't felt sick since I stayed there. Felt absolutely at ease. I actually love the house, but there is something not quite right there, but I do believe it is my great-granddad, and he had a stroke in that bedroom, so it's quite comforting. Yeah.
Natalie, thank you very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. Okay, we're live until 1, so about half an hour before we wrap it up tonight. If you've got any thoughts, you can call me right now. Apparently, Brenda's just rung to say that every time the lottery falls on the birthday of a deceased mother, she has a win, apparently. All right, okay. Interesting. It's all in the balls, apparently. Right, here until 1, call me right now.
Graham Torrington.
From 10 for that, okay? Halloween tonight, this is what we've been talking about on the show tonight. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost, or do you think it's a load of old cobblers? Call me anytime between now and 1, or email via the website. Just email on the Late Night Love page. Okay, let's bring in Tasmin. Hi, Tasmin.
Hi, Graham.
Right, you lost your brother, like Davey was saying earlier on, and you feel that his presence with you from time to time.
I do, not as much as the previous caller said, but in times of need, probably because I've wanted him to be there for comfort or what have you, I've felt it. So whether he is really there or whether it's just my imagination, it certainly is a comfort to me to think that he might be there.
Right. So when you're going through a bit of a tough time, you think, "Oh, I want something to help me through this."
Yeah.
And your brother appears in your head.
Not necessarily in my head. I don't see a vision of him. I don't see a white light. I don't see anything like that. But I just feel like a pressure, like a presence, kind of around me. And it's a very comforting, warm kind of a feeling. Right. And I've been to spiritualists and various other people thinking that that's the most obvious thing to do to get him to come to me. And to be honest, he's never appeared. He's proved so elusive. Yeah, I've had other people, like great-grandparents, like the other previous lady was saying, and they've all come through and given me advice and care. And I think, genuinely, that's what they're there for. And I think the best people are taken from this world and go to somewhere else, wherever that may be. And if they don't come back to us, then they're not doing their job, because I think they are there for guidance and for comfort.
What do you mean they're not doing their job?
Well, I think when they go somewhere else, I think, like I say, I think that is for a reason. Someone's taken the good eggs and said, right, I need you here because we need you to do and help and guide all these people that are still on the planet, sort of thing. So if they don't come back to you and they don't appear, as much as I want my brother to appear.
So what does that say about your brother? Is what I'm trying to work out.
Oh, he's awful. No, I'm kidding. No, I just think, to be honest, I have been in a situation when I first learnt to drive, we all have these bumps and grinds, and it wasn't a major accident, but it was serious enough. And again, I felt that presence of comfort, and I thought at the time, oh my God, this is it, because my car rolled, but not majorly. But somehow he was there, and I felt like as if I was the one controlling the steering wheel, but it was as if there was a power through me enabling me to do it. Whether, like I say, I'm just thinking that's what it was, or whether that was truly real, you just don't know, do you?
So what would convince you then that it was your brother?
To be honest, again, if I went to a spiritualist and he came through that person, like that medium, I think, that would really say that, yes, Nick's there and that's brilliant. But to be honest, I'm happy enough just feeling that within myself. I don't need it to be proven to me or convinced of it, because as long as I feel that, like I say, it's a huge comfort for myself. And I mean, he's never, my parents don't feel his presence, my sister doesn't feel it. They're quite envious that I have that connection, if that's what it is. And there's funny things that go on in, we've moved now, but in the old house there was funny things that happened, books falling off shelves that, you know, you just think, well, how on earth did that fall off? And in his room, that kind of thing. But we never saw a vision, or, you know, and you can put that down to coincidence, can't you? You know, you could say, well, the shelf wobbled or a big truck went past or what have you. But if we believe that it's him, it's a comfort to us.
Yeah.
I
get that, and I understand that, and I understand what you're saying. Some of the stuff I don't get and I don't understand. But, you know, it's like you're saying to me here, you know, it's a comfort for you. And whether he's there or there's a presence there or not, it doesn't matter. The thing is, you believe that he's there and he's your guiding light, your guardian angel, if you like, really.
Yes. I completely, that's what I'm saying, and I think that if anyone does have that, then it's a very good feeling to have. And I know people can be sceptical, but, you know, and like I say, I've never seen a ghost as such, but I think if people don't believe, you know, if they do have a loss in their lives, they might start to realise that whether it's true or not, it is comfort for them.
Good. All right, Tasman, thank you very much for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your story with us tonight. Okay, here's the one. Maybe time for a couple of calls before we have to wrap it up tonight. Do ghosts exist? Have you seen what you think is a ghost? Or do you think it's a load of old rubbish? Convince me that ghosts really exist. Call me right now.
Graham Torrington.
Fugees and Killing Me Softly. Graham Torrington on Late Night Love, Halloween tonight, which I'm sure you're well aware of by now. And that's what we've been talking about on the show tonight. Ghosts, things that go bump in the night. Are you a believer? Are you a non-believer? Let's bring in Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Graham. You all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Now, but like a couple of the other callers on the show earlier on tonight, your brother died when you were 18, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. No, when he was 18, he committed suicide.
Right.
But when he died, when the post-mortem and that was carried out, my family brought him back to the house in Scotland so all our family could pay the last respects and that to him before he actually got buried and stuff.
Yep.
So he was actually laying in our room that we used to sort of share.
Right.
And but where he committed suicide, he was actually found on a sort of main road that leads from our house that goes into our village.
Right.
And it wasn't just a few years after it that I had actually I was walking back from the town one night, and it was about 10 o'clock with my friends, and we were going back home, and I looked over and I seen someone, and it was just like a mist type thing, so it sort of freaked me out a little bit, and got back home. But when we walk up into our house, you have to walk sort of up the side of the house, and then you went in the back door. So I actually come in the back door, but actually, when I looked at the back door, I felt as if someone was there. I see the door open and then close again, but it was just like a figure, and I knew it was him. And but a couple of months before that, I was having a weird dream, and I sort of woke up, and he was at the bottom of my bed, you know, which was quite strange.
Right. Were you physically seeing him?
I wouldn't say I actually seen his face in that, but it was a figure that I knew that he was there.
Right.
And it was as if he was upset about something.
Right.
Because when you sort of looked up in the corner of the room, it was as if his face was there, and his face was standing out, and it was as if he was praying. You know, and I sort of done like the Ouija board and stuff like that before it, and I did actually speak to him, and the person that I was actually doing it with, it was actually telling me things that the person didn't actually know, because they didn't actually know me at the time when my brother was actually alive.
Right.
You know, it was actually telling me things that the person that I was doing the Ouija board with couldn't have possibly known.
Right. How did you feel when you went through that?
Really, really sort of freaked out. I was actually doing the Ouija board, and it was telling me things. And
why were you doing that?
Just it was after that I had seen him and stuff. I knew there was a presence there in the house, and I wanted to speak to him. I wanted to ask him things, why he killed himself.
Right.
And
have you ever been to a spiritualist?
No, never. No. It was very, very strange, but after that, I sort of got really, really, not so much scared in the fact, but when I was always in the house, I knew that there was somebody there watching me all the time. You just had like a cold shiver in your back wherever I walked. But my dad was always moaning about my brother because he was always having a bath every night.
Right.
And after he had died, the bath taps went on by themselves and stuff.
Right.
And it was like my brother probably letting him know that I'm still here, you know.
Right.
But before he committed suicide, they had a big argument and stuff, and that was the last time I seen my brother, you know. My brother and my dad had an argument outside of the house, and then the next morning, that's when the police and that was there, so he was obviously upset at my father and stuff, you know.
How are things today? 'Cause I've got to wrap up in a second because we're at the end of the show, but how are things today? What's the situation now?
I don't really. I live down in England now, so I don't get back up to Scotland much to sort of see, like his grave and that. My mother's there in the grave with him, but I know that if I went there, I would probably see him.
Okay, Steve, thank you very much for joining us on Late Night Love tonight. It's Halloween. Hopefully we haven't frightened you too much on the show tonight. That wasn't really the reason for doing it. Was just to hear your stories. Some very interesting stories as well. Back tomorrow night from 10 on Late Night Love. I'll be joined by the dating doctor tomorrow night on Late Night Love to try and sort out you if you're having trouble with the dating game. Tonight's Late Night Love was produced by Tom, Ash and Steve. I'm Graham Torrington. Enjoy the rest of the night. And I'll leave you with Bon Jovi. This is Always.